I welded a steel gate shut on a Tuesday morning and trapped 7 HOA heavy trucks on my property like they were cattle in a pen. An hour later, the Homeowners Association president was screaming into my voicemail, "Open it or you're going to jail." By lunchtime, 3 contractors were standing at my fence staring at the lock, realizing nobody was coming to save them. My name's Ethan Walker, mid-50s quiet guy, the kind who likes his coffee black and his mornings even quieter. I bought 5 acres outside a neighborhood called Northgate Meadows because I wanted space trees, a little pond, no board meetings, no petty rules, no clipboard people counting the height of my grass. I'm not in their homeowners association, never signed a thing, never paid a dime, never wanted the community lifestyle. My land just happens to sit right along their boundary, close enough that a certain type of person starts looking at it like a free storage unit. And that certain type of person, unfortunately, was Diane Prescott. First time I saw it, I thought it was a mistake. A rumbling diesel engine, a white dump truck with a contractor logo on the door rolling slow under my trees like it belonged there. I walked out and waved calm, normal, not looking for a fight. "Hey, wrong turn," I called. "This is private property." The driver didn't even kill the engine. He leaned out the window and said like he was reading it off a script, "Board approved." That phrase, "board approved," man, it has a way of turning regular folks into absolute bullies. The next day it wasn't 1 truck. It was 3. Then 5. They started cutting across the corner of my field like it was a shortcut, chewing up the ground after a rain, leaving ruts deep enough to catch a boot heel. One of them dripped dark fluid right onto the grass, slow lazy drops like my land was a shop towel. I called the HOA office number posted at the entrance sign. A woman answered with that bright customer service voice, and when I explained what was happening, she didn't sound surprised. She sounded inconvenienced. "Oh, those are our contractors," she said. "They're staging for a project." "On my land," I said. There was a pause. "Then that area is basically common." Basically. Like boundaries are a vibe. That night I walked the tire tracks with my phone flashlight and took photos. Ruts mud, the sheen of oil in a little puddle, a crushed patch of wildflowers I'd left alone all summer. I emailed the pictures to their general inbox and wrote it plain, "This is not HOA property. Your contractors are trespassing. They need to stop immediately." The reply came the next morning from Madison Hart, the HOA vice president, and it was one of those emails that smiles while it stabs you. "Thank you for your cooperation," it said. "We appreciate your willingness to support the community's improvement efforts. We will work to minimize impact." Cooperation. Willingness. Like I'd offered them a parking permit and a hug. I drove to the HOA office after lunch and asked to speak to Diane Prescott. They made me wait in a lobby with staged plants and a framed photo of the board shaking hands like they'd brokered world peace. When Diane finally walked out, she looked exactly like you'd expect: perfect hair, perfect posture, perfect confidence that the universe was obligated to agree with her. She didn't greet me, she assessed me. "You're the gentleman with the email," she said, like I was a minor issue on her schedule. "I'm the guy whose land you're using," I said. "Your trucks have damaged my property. They've left oil. I want it to stop." Diane smiled small and sharp. "Ethan, you live adjacent to our easement. That access has historically been used." "That's not an answer," I said. "An easement doesn't mean you get to park trucks wherever you feel like. The boundary line is the boundary line." Her smile didn't change, but her tone did. "Our attorneys will review this. In the meantime, you should understand that interfering with our operations could expose you to liability." Liability. That's what people say when they've run out of logic and they're switching to intimidation. For about a week, I tried the reasonable route. I put up a bright private property sign. I marked the edge with small flags. I called twice more, got transferred. Left messages, got the same polite nothing. Meanwhile, the trucks kept coming, and now they were comfortable. They started showing up earlier. A couple of mornings I heard the engines at dawn, that low growl through the fog, like they were trying to beat me outside. One afternoon, I found trash fast food cups, a ripped glove, a length of strap left in a heap near my fence, like my land was their break room. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was that slow, humiliating feeling of being ignored on your own property. One evening I stood at my kitchen counter holding my phone, staring at the photos, the dates, the little notes I'd typed to myself. And I'll be honest, I felt tired in a way that surprised me. Not sad, not dramatic, just worn down. Because there's a moment in situations like this where you realize the other side has time and committees and an office number that never stops ringing. And you have your job, your bills, your life, and now you've got diesel tracks through your yard on top of it. I even caught myself thinking for a split second, maybe I'm making this bigger than it is. Then I looked out the window and saw fresh ruts in the mud, and a slick patch where something had leaked again. Number one, I wasn't making it bigger. They were. So I got practical. I went to the county office and pulled every piece of documentation I could parcel, map boundary lines, tax records, the kind of boring paperwork that suddenly becomes your best friend. I asked the clerk to mark the corners clearly, and I took copies like I was building a case file. Then I bought 2 trail cameras and set them up where the trucks were cutting through. Not hidden like a spy movie, just placed smart angled right, catching plates and faces, time stamps on everything. I wrote a notice of trespass and sent it certified mail to the HOA office and to Diane Prescott directly. No more pleas, no more minimize impact, just a clear line. You are not authorized to enter. If you continue, you are trespassing. Any damages will be documented and pursued. 2 days later, the truck still rolled in. That's when I stopped believing this was an accident and started treating it like a test. So I set a trap the clean kind, legal, simple. I had a steel gate installed at the entry point they were using, heavy posts, proper hinges, a lock that looked like it belonged on a shipping container. I didn't block a public road. I didn't touch their easement. I just secured the access point on my land where they'd been helping themselves. And then I waited. Tuesday morning, just after sunrise, the first truck came through like always, then another and another. 7 total. They parked in a sloppy line under my tree's engines ticking as they cooled drivers climbing down and stretching like they owned the place. I let them settle. Then I walked out calm as a man taking out the trash, and I swung the gate closed. Click. I dropped the lock through. Click. And because I knew exactly what kind of game Diane liked to play, I did one more thing. I had my welder out there, and I welded a steel sleeve over the lock shackle so it couldn't be cut fast. Not permanent, not destructive, just not easy. One of the drivers noticed and started walking toward me with his hands up. "Hey man, what are you doing?" "I'm securing my property," I said. "You received a trespass notice." He blinked like he'd never heard that sentence before. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Diane Prescott. Of course. I answered and held the phone away from my ear because I already knew what was coming. "Ethan, open that gate right now," she shouted. "You are unlawfully detaining our equipment." I said. "Diane, those trucks drove onto my land after written notice. I'm not detaining anything. They can leave when we handle damages and when your contractors agree in writing not to return." "You can't do this," she snapped. "I'm calling the sheriff. You will be arrested." "Please do," I said, and my voice got quiet in that way that makes people nervous. "And tell them to bring a notepad. I've got photos, video, and oil stains." She hung up so hard it sounded like she threw the phone. About 20 minutes later, 3 contractors were gathered at my fence like a little angry conference. One of them tried to laugh it off. Another stared at the weld like he was doing math. A third kept glancing back at the trapped trucks like the trucks might sprout legs and escape. Then a patrol car pulled up on the shoulder. Deputy Mason Reed stepped out, hands on his belt, eyes scanning everything the way they do. Diane arrived right behind him in a shiny SUV, walking fast, chin high, already talking before she even reached the gate. "Deputy, he's holding our vehicles hostage," she said. "This is criminal." Deputy Reed looked at the gate. Then he looked at the trucks. Then he looked at me. "Sir," he said, "is this your property?" "Yes," I said, and I handed him the parcel map and the certified mail receipt. He studied it. He walked the line where my flags were. He looked at the cameras mounted on my posts. He bent down and ran his finger across the dark stain in the grass. Then he turned to Diane. "Ma'am, they were notified," he said. "This is private land. If your contractors entered after notice, that's trespass. I'm not arresting him for locking a gate on his own property." Diane's face did something I will never forget. It didn't explode. It tightened, like a mask slipping but refusing to fall. "This is ridiculous," she said. "We have community authority." Deputy Reed didn't blink. "You have authority over your association members, not over him." The contractors started arguing with each other. One of them muttered, "We were told it was approved." Another said, "Approved by who?" And suddenly, for the first time, I wasn't the only one standing there feeling crazy. A few calls were made. A supervisor showed up. An environmental inspector got involved once the word leak was mentioned. And just like that, the power shifted, not because I yelled louder, but because paperwork and evidence don't care who runs the board. Within days, the HOA's attorney sent a very different kind of letter, short, careful, apologetic, in that corporate way. They agreed to pay for soil remediation and repairs. They agreed again in writing to stop all access across my land. And at the next HOA meeting, where a neighbor named Mark Ellison invited me to speak, Diane Prescott didn't get to run the room like a queen anymore. Too many people had seen the videos. Too many homeowners were furious that their dues had been used to bankroll a trespass problem that never needed to exist. When the vote came down to remove her from overseeing any community operations and to review her decisions, she sat there blinking silent while her own board members avoided her eyes. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just watched the moment she realized her title couldn't bully a boundary line. Lesson: if you want real power, keep receipts and know exactly where your property ends and their ego begins.